Welcome, Summoners, to Games Cast by PanderNyrl. If you wish to see more commented games, follow my social media pages below. Okay, looks like we are in the champ select of SK versus Absolute Legends. Bans coming out right and quick, as we do see a Malphite ban, Wukong banned as well, Kha'Zix and Lee Sin banned. Kha'Zix has been pretty much banned or picked this entire tournament, usually banned out, as people don't want to see his assassination power. He has the ability to just jump into the middle of a team, kill one person, then run away without dying. And he's also an incredibly good laner, as he's been used in 2v1 lanes, and one of the few champions who can really shut down Olaf in lane. Wukong has been banned out, as he has really shined this tournament as a mid laner. His ability to roam around the map has been incredibly strong, and his ultimate has absolutely destroyed team fights, as it combos incredibly well with someone like a Mumu or Kayle, who can really set him up perfectly. Elise banned out, along with Nidalee not wanting to see him played by Ocelote, as Nidalee has been one of his staple champions. Looks like we are going to see an immediate Kayle pickup, as Kayle is an incredibly strong champion, and her ultimate has been used to great effect in many situations. She can throw the ultimate down on someone, and they can survive a whole mess of burst damage, or get their full combo off, like someone like Wukong, but Wukong has been banned out. We are seeing Elise banned, people just don't want to deal with her. She's been incredibly annoying at top, she's a great split pusher, and she can really get to the back lines in team fights and make AD carries or AP carries really pay and not get their full damage out. Looks like we are going to see Olaf picked up for the Absolute Legends side. Olaf basically another staple of this tournament. He's an incredibly good laner. He can 2v1 very well. He can jungle. He can basically do anything. And we are going to see Lulu comboed up with him, which is fairly common, as Lulu can throw her ultimate on Olaf and basically turning him into an unstoppable wrecking crew, as he can ignore all the CC in the world while keeping people very slow the entire time. SK might look to pick up Shen here, as Shen has been used to great effect, but they're switching around to Darius, and I'm not sure who they're actually going to pick up here. They've got basically all their options open at this point. They could go with really anyone, but I think they're going to likely pick up an AD carry or support here, in addition to possibly a jungler. Kayle has been used in the jungle this tournament as well, but I do think it's going to be picked up mid lane, as Ocelote has been known to play Kayle mid lane, and she's just a very strong mid lane champion. Her ability to sit back and farm, in addition to poke around, is pretty strong. Looks like SK will be picking up Sona and Shen. Shen doing a great job this entire tournament of really punishing teams for playing aggressive and making mistakes. Because if you make a mistake and don't actually get the kill before Shen gets his ultimate off, he's really going to punish you and possibly turn it around. Sona also another staple of this tournament. Her early game harass has been very strong, and as long as there's not a Zyra support on the other team, she's going to be just fine, as her poke is really devastating and it keeps teams from trying to move in. Looks like we are going to see Xin Zhao picked up by Absolute Legends along with Misfortune. Xin Zhao is a really strong jungler who can jump in and really combo well with someone like Olaf, as they can both dive pretty deep and just burst down that back line before anything really happens. He can also be used to disperse a team fight and possibly even knock someone out of Kayle's ultimate range. Misfortune picked up as well. She's been basically picked this entire tournament. Her ultimate does ridiculous amounts of damage, especially if they have someone that can group them up, though the Absolute Legends side does not have that at the moment. She also has incredibly good roam ability with her passive, and her early game laning is second to none, as she can just walk up, auto attack, then double up for some massive damage. Looks like SK is going to pick up a Shaco. Kind of surprised they're going to pick him up. Shaco is not usually picked up in the competitive scene, as it requires a little bit too much snowballing. But let's see what SK can do here, as I'm sure they have a plan for him. And it looks like we are going to have an Ezreal. This will be an AD Ezreal. We've seen an AP Ezreal at other points in this tournament, but the AD one is incredibly strong and is basically pin-picked most games, as he's just a very safe champion. He doesn't have any real weaknesses, other than the fact he doesn't have any crowd control effects, but you don't really need crowd control effects on your AD carry. You pick an AD carry to do a whole lot of damage. Looks like Pantheon might be the choice coming out from Absolute Legends, and that will give them a small counter to Shen, as they could both roam in the same area, and if Shen throws out his ultimate, Pantheon can just sit back and throw his out as well. Looks like we are into the game, and I don't expect to see any real level 1 shenanigans, as both teams have decently strong level 1 teams, and I don't think Absolute Legend wants to run into a pack of Shaco boxes, because the Shaco boxes can go really well with a Shen taunt, but Absolute Legends also kind of wants to be invaded on, as they do have a Pantheon who can just jump on the enemy. Looks like we are back. It looks like Lulu's going to try and go up in war, but we do have Kayle sitting here trying to prevent her from doing so. Question is, will she actually be able to go and lay down a ward? And it looks like, no, the Glitter Lance does miss. And Lulu will be able to actually place the ward down now. A little bit of harassment thrown out there by Ezreal, but nothing too dangerous, as most teams really like that ward. But it looks like Sona is going to counter it, which is probably a good decision here, as it gives Shaco a lot more openings to just roam around the map and get those early ganks off. Because if you pick Shaco, you basically have to gank early, then kind of split push, or play really safe and just come in at the back side of team fights and assassinate the AD carry. And I think this Shaco is going to have a decent time, as there's not a whole lot of ward coverage coming out from Absolute Legends at this point. Though the side of SK has placed a whole lot of wards. They placed 2 wards on their own side of the map, while having 1 on the Absolute Legend side, but it looks like they are going to go invade on the Absolute Legend side, as Olaf's going to take his own blue. That blue buff should allow him to 2v1, and we are going to see a lane swap with Olaf down bottom versus Sona Ezreal, and he should have a decent time as long as he gets blue buff and gets to level 2 before they actually start fighting. And it looks like we are going to have a blue steal, as Xin Zhao will pick it up, and he still does not have used his smite, so he will have a free smite. And an interesting thing here is he has not actually cleared the camp, so they do not know when it will respawn. But I think that's more to just keep Shaco from getting a blue buff, because Shaco with a blue buff is a real terror. Looks like we are going to see Misfortune and Lulu just bully around Shen. Shen's a decent 2v1 laner, but I'm not sure he's picked up the correct items 2v1, as that rejuvenation bead is not going to help him a whole lot. Looks like Shaco's going to come down for a gank, and we've seen this several times, though I'm not sure how well it's going to work out, as they don't have any real hard CC, but they might have enough damage to kill him before the turret kills anyone, especially if they can just rotate tower aggro, have Sona take a shot or 2, then back up. Shaco going to come in as Olaf comes in, but Olaf is level 2 at this point. Olaf does land the Ruckus Swing, Sona with the exhaust, Shaco coming in, but there's a teleport. Looks like Kayle is going to come in, and Olaf does pick up first blood on Shaco. Rather big mistake by Shaco there. And Olaf will live as Sona dies to the tower. And that is just a very big blunder on the SK side of things, as Absolute Legends gets a very healthy 600 gold from that. Even though Olaf is pushed out of lane, that's just a blunder you can't make at the professional level. That could really come to bite them in the rear. And it looks like we are going to see Shen dived up top. This time it's a little better, as they have more CC coming out of Lulu, Misfortune, and Xin Zhao. Pantheon looks to be coming up the river as well. He should provide a valuable stun, and if he goes in first, he can block enough damage. But it looks like Xin Zhao will be going in first, taking tower aggro before the minions are here, and he will go down to the tower, but that will be a kill traded, though Xin Zhao did actually pick up the kill, meaning double buffs are not transferred to a very useful target. Though all in all, a decent trade, as they will be able to push this tower fairly heavily and possibly take it down, though Pantheon is going to be backing up. But I do think the Absolute Legend side will have enough to actually take this tower down before Shen returns, and that will be the first tower of the game. Looks like we do have Shen picking up a Duran's shield, as we do see Olaf grabbing boots and a bunch of potions, including that crystalline flask. Kayle, we're going to be getting free farm in the mid lane while Pantheon is out, though they are going to be about even on CS. Shaco looking to come in the mid lane and start something, but I'm not sure how much he's going to get done, as the wave is pushed fairly heavily. Down bottom we see Ezreal farming fairly well, keeping up with Misfortune. And the big thing is Misfortune has boots and potions, while Ezreal has opted for just complete potions. It's the only real difference in their builds. Xin Zhao has completed a Philosopher's Stone, as we do see Pantheon picking up a Duran's blade, as he is just looking to kind of push this mid lane and get a little bit insane. Xin Zhao coming down bottom, though Kayle looks to be hot on his trail if he decides to do anything, as I think they did spot him running through the jungle, but it looks like he is just going to back up and no real ganks are going to occur. I think both teams are going to try and farm it out, but it looks like up top, Misfortune and Lulu didn't actually have enough time to kill that tower. I really thought they were going to, and that would give them a nice gold lead on the SK side, because they are down about 1,000 gold at this point, thanks to that real big blunder down bottom. But it looks like we are going to have Shen just continuing to farm up top, and he's really stabilized himself thanks to that Duran shield. He's just not taking that much harass from Lulu, and Misfortune's just not doing enough as well. Looks like we are going to have top lane back up. I don't think they're going to be lane swapping yet, as they really do want that early tower. Okay, I'm going to be doing some good damage to the minions, but not a lot happening other than that, and I think both sides are going to just sit around for the moment and farm it out and hope to go to late game. We do see 2 Durans blades up, as Shaco does find his blue buff was not fully cleared, and without fully clearing that blue buff, he's in for a long wait, as it'll easily be over 10 minutes before a blue buff arrives for Kayle. Olaf taking a fair bit of damage down bottom, but he should be perfectly fine, as he has a large number of potions and should easily be able to sustain himself from any real threat. We're going to have a little bit of engagement up top, but Shen is in perfect condition. No real problems coming out from him, as he's just fairly safe with that shield. He's just not taking any real damage from Lulu, and his potion's keeping him perfectly healthy. Yeah, each auto attack is doing 20, maybe 30 damage, and he's got 1,000 health. Shen is taunting, but Lulu takes tower aggro so that Misfortune doesn't take any real damage. Olaf forced to go back again as he picks up a bunch more armor with the Ninja Tabi and cloth armor. Looks like we are going to see Shaco picking up boots and trying to gank, though this Shaco has been very ineffective this game, and he's going to have to step it up if SK wants to win anything, because without Shaco roaming around the map, he's fairly useless, and he's not getting the farm he needs to split push. He really needs to pick up those early kills to either make his team get really far ahead so that they can force these 4v5 fights and win, or he needs to get strong enough from kills to be able to split push. Looks like Pantheon will be taking the blue buff and likely going to be roaming down bottom. He could actually jump down there on Ezreal. Will he actually do? No, it looks like he's not, though he might. No, he decides to just go back instead. It would have been a decent opportunity to jump in on him, but with Sona there, and it looks like the first tower of the game is taken up top by Misfortune and Lulu. Finally getting that one down. I thought they would have had that much sooner and would have been able to lane swap back, but apparently they just didn't have the power to push against Shen, as Shen was doing the wise thing and just taunting him under tower and forcing him to take a fair bit of damage. Looks like you are going to have Xin Zhao holding the mid lane, and Shen is level 6. Should a fight arise anywhere soon, and it looks like the Absolute Legend side is going to group up for Dragon, as they are bringing everyone to the bottom side of the map. Kayle just going to keep farming out those wraiths, as Shaco really doesn't farm fast enough, especially the fact he doesn't even have a Madrid's Razor up. Looks like Xin Zhao might try and catch Kayle here, but he is not in good position, as Kayle just does a little too much damage. Pantheon with a man drop behind Kayle, but Kayle will throw her ultimate right in time, as she does flash over the wall, but she will be taken very low, though Xin Zhao was taken out first. Kayle very low still, as Kayle does get taken down. We do have Shaco and Sona get taken down as well. Big win for Absolute Legend so far, but Shaco has picked up 2 kills throughout all this. Looks like Olaf's still going to dive as he gets the Lulu ultimate popped. Misfortune flashing forward, but Shen, and we do see Ezreal flashing forward. Misfortune taking very low. She does pop barrier to save herself, but it looks like the Absolute Legend side has taken a 2,000 gold lead here, and they are in a very nice spot overall. And it looks like they could go try and pick up Dragon, though Olaf is a bit low on mana, and it looks like they're deciding to just back up. Though this will give SK the opportunity for Dragon should they so choose, as they're going to have 4 healthy people there in no time at all. Kayle looks like to just pop teleport and is running down bottom trying to get Misfortune, but Misfortune wisely just starts running away instead of trying to teleport back. We do see Olaf picking up a Philosopher's Stone, Xin Zhao with the Madrid's Razor, Pantheon double Duran blades, and likely going to be picking up a Brutalizer, and it looks like the blue side will be able to pick up Dragon fairly easy here, as Misfortune and Lulu are nowhere close to this fight, and Olaf is already all the way top, while 5 members of the SK team are here. Xin Zhao wants to try and get in there and steal it, but Kayle is doing a great job of zoning him out, and that Shaco box would fear him the second he gets in range. Looks like we do have Shen going for the early Warmongs, as Kayle's going to pick up a Nashor's Tooth, likely into the fairly standard spell penetration item of Liadru's Torment. That seems to be what most Kayles go for. Shaco looking to gank down bottom, but I'm not sure he's going to find anything, as Misfortune and Lulu are fairly well backed up. They are going to ping that brush, as I think they recognize Shaco is in the area. Looks like we have Ezreal with the Durant's Blade and the Longsword, likely going to turn that into a Vampiric Scepter and Bloodthirsters. That seems to be the fairly standard build for AD carries these days. Misfortune with Vampiric Scepter, double Durant's Blades, and the Berserker's Greaves. Looks like we have a little bit of a speed up, but nothing really going on as Pantheon's looking to come down bottom. But I do think he will be spotted out. And yes, he will be. Though if he tries to move any closer, he's going to hit that Shaco box, but he decides to just go back mid. Shaco was, I believe, spotted down bottom, and I really don't think they want to tower dive at this point, as tower diving has not exactly been their strong suit on the SK side of things. SK doing a good job of just keeping the gold lead, but it looks like Pantheon is jumping down bottom, and Shaco is taken incredibly low, but not killed. No, he's actually killed by, looks like a minion, I believe. But Misfortune does pick up a kill, and that is a fairly good use of the Pantheon ultimate. But it might not be enough unless they can get a tower for it, and they can easily push the tower at this point, as you do see Ezreal fairly low, and Sona is almost out of mana. And if they push this tower, Absolute Legends will be in a very good position. Looks like Shaco has healed up rather quickly and is in the area in case something happens. But I don't foresee anything really big going on. Though the Absolute Legends side decided instead to send Pantheon back to just go pick up the farm mid lane instead of pushing that tower down. As I think they could have done it, but Shaco is still in this area looking for a gank. The score is 3-6 with Absolute Legends up about 2,000 gold at this point. That bottom brush is warded as Shaco does come in. Will Sona have enough mana for ultimate? No, it looks like they are not, as Lulu is just going to be able to flash away. And not a lot going on other than that. They had an opportunity, but Shaco just never got in range to land his slow. And they don't have any CC other than the Sona ultimate, which was still down at that point in time. If they had the Sona ultimate, that might have been a good idea to go in, but they really needed some way to just lock them down. Looks like Olaf has picked up Australia's Reverie, as we do see a Giant's Belt picked up by Xin Zhao. Brutalizer finished up onto Pantheon, as we do see standard support items coming out onto Lulu with the Ruby Sight Stone and Philosopher's Stone. Sunfire Cape likely up on Shen, as his Pantheon really hasn't done enough this game. He needs to do just a bit more, as he's really a mid-game champion. And when you pick Pantheon, you're basically saying, I want to win by about 25 to 30 minutes, absolutely tops. Because that's really when his roam starts to fall off, and he can't start 1v1ing people when he split pushes. And I'm not sure he's going to be able to split push effectively anyway, as Shen is basically stacking armor at this point, and health, which is basically the hard counters to Pantheon. His damage is not really consistent. Nashor's 2 picked up by Kayle, as we see him looking to go jump down bottom. His ultimate is up. I don't think they see him. Question is, will he be able to land it? Looks like we aren't going to be able to see. But he is, and Xin Zhao were taken out, as the game just kind of flashed forward a little bit. Looks like there was a lag spike during it, and we don't get to see what happened, but oh well. And we're just going to keep moving forward. Though that does give SK a little bit of help, though they've been consistently down about 1,500 to a little over 2,000 gold. As Shaco does jump in, Ezreal goes up, but Sona not in range to land a crescendo. Giant's Belt coming out onto Shaco and Shen, as Shaco is looking to just tank it up this game apparently. And I don't mind him playing a tank, as they do have enough damage coming out from Kayle, Ezreal, and Sona, as he can just basically be a nuisance in the fight and keep Misfortune out of it. And if Misfortune's not doing damage in this fight, I'm not sure Absolute Legends is going to have enough damage, as Pantheon and Xin Zhao are very good at burst damage, but once they burn their combos, they don't have enough damage to really finish anyone off. Looks like we are going to have a Last Whisper soon to be picked up on Pantheon, as Bloodthirsters are going to be coming out for both AD carries. We are going to likely see a War Monster Sunfire Cape on Xin Zhao, as Dragon has just spawned, and Shaco is looking to absolutely destroy it, as he has popped his clone, and there is no way Absolute Legends is getting in on this. Teleport coming in from Olaf, and we are going to see a 5v5 fight. Shaco clone taken down, as he does get the Dragon. We do see Xin Zhao very low, as he does get taken out. And we are going to continue to have the fight, as Ezreal does fly. Pantheon taken very low. Shaco very low as well. Will he go down? No, he will not. Sona ultimate save for the last second. But that is a big win for SK, as they take down 4. and the only one alive is Lulu, and that puts them in a gold lead thanks to picking up Dragon, and they're likely going to push for some towers here. That was just a blunder by the Absolute Legend side going into that confined area, and they just didn't land anything. They kind of half-heartedly went in and just couldn't get any real damage going on the primary targets. And with that, SK is in the driver's seat, as I do think they have a slightly stronger team comp at this point, as Shen can easily just split push, and I don't think there's a good answer for him split pushing. Olaf might be able to do it when his teleport's up, but unless his teleport's up, he's going to have a bit of a hard time teleporting away. As Shen is getting real tanky at this point, he's sitting at 2-1 and 7, part of every single one of SK's kills, and he's done a really good job, other than letting that early tower go, but he did a great job of just protecting the tower for long enough that his team could get some advantages elsewhere on the map, and not really lose or get behind that far, as SK was down a fairly consistent gold lead for most of the games up until this point, but now they are up 3,000 gold and are really looking to pile it on, as we do see Sorcerer Shoes up out on Kayle, Wriggles Lantern finished up on Shaco, likely to see an Aegis or a Warmongs up on Olaf next, and Xin Zhao picking up Sunfire Cape or Warmongs with that Giant's Belt. Shaco roaming around, but he will not find anyone as there is no one in the area. Kayle is looking to take out Blue, but it is spotted out. Pantheon with a man drop coming in. Will they be able to land on Kayle? And Kayle does wisely use her ultimate perfectly in time, preventing all damage, and there's the Shen ultimate. Means that Shen will land a perfect taunt on 2. As he does take Pantheon low, Kayle will go down, but here's Olaf and Shaco. And Shaco will be able to finish off Xin Zhao as the fear keeps him just stunned long enough. As Shaco does run up against Olaf, and that is a big win for SK, taking down 2 for 1. And it looks like Olaf will be able to get away, as they really don't want to pursue him at this point. And that was a real good map awareness by Shaco and Shen, and also by Kayle. If that man drop hit perfectly on her, it would have been a lot of damage. Looks like we do see Ezreal taking fairly low down bottom, but not a lot happening as Misfortune does blow her ultimate. Though it's not going to be too big a deal, as we have a Sona on the SK side, and she can just heal Ezreal up, while Lulu has no real way of healing Misfortune up outside of just the Bloodthirster and Doran's blades. About a 3,000 or so gold lead for SK at this point, as Shen is jumping on Olaf, and Olaf just not in position to actually fight him. Shen's just a little too tanky for him at this point, and I think they could trade farm it here without anyone really winning, but I don't think trading farm with Shen is such a good idea at this point, especially because his ultimate's been incredibly valuable this game, and he's really punished the mistakes made by Absolute Legends, and they're just over aggressiveness. That's one of the reasons why Shen is a fairly safe ban, as most teams have played fairly aggressively this tournament, and they just don't get to play aggressively when there's Shen in the mid game. His ultimate's been used so well this game, I can't stop saying praises of it, and he's really been the reason SK has come back to such a commanding lead. We do see Kayle picking up a needlessly large rod, could go into a Deathfire Grasp, or possibly a Zanya's, I'm not sure at this point. Shen completing his Warmongs, the first of the game, and likely first of many, as we do see Ezreal going for the Last Whisper, Pantheon going for Last Whisper, as well as Ezreal has actually completed his Last Whisper at this point, and looking to really burst down someone. The score is 11-8 with approximately 3,000 gold lead for the SK side of things. They were down about 2,000 gold a few moments ago, but have really just used a good bit of teamwork to come back and take map objectives, along with just applying a lot of pressure to the lane so they can get their farm. Looks like we are going to see nothing much going on, as I do think Pantheon really needs to get involved in this game. He's had a few good opportunities, but he's just not been able to capitalize on his ultimate. And when you pick Pantheon, you must get good mileage out of that ultimate. His ability to roam around the map is incredible, but he's just not been able to this game, as the SK side has played fairly safe. Looks like we do have Shaco with a Sunfire Cape, looking to just be a nuisance in these team fights. And I'm not actually sure how the Sunfire Capes works with the clone, but I do believe both of them get the Sunfire proc. which should deal some pretty decent damage to the back line, as they don't look to have much magic resistance outside of an Aegis of the Legion and possibly Ruined Bulwark. Shen and Olaf just fighting up top, but neither one of them taking too much damage, as they are both very tanky. Shaco going to try and jump over the wall, but he will be spotted out, though Lulu is in trouble, as Lulu will go down before the fight starts. Xin Zhao does pop his ultimate to knock everyone away and try and save Lulu, but it is not enough, as both sides are going to back up and just continue to farm out the lanes. SK is quite happy to farm at this point, as I think they will have a stronger late game team comp, especially if Pantheon doesn't get involved. And I'm probably going to say this way too many times, but this game relies on Pantheon getting something happening pretty soon, and he just hasn't gotten anything done. He's had some opportunities, but that Kayle ult really bit them in the rear. SK will be taking Dragon, as they do see Pantheon and Olaf top. Not sure why he went top without the ultimate, but oh well. Looks like we are going to see SK push down the mid lane. They could just try and pressure the mid lane here, though I do think they're going to back up after this wave, as I think Olaf will be in position to actually run down mid. His teleport is up, along with his ultimate and ghost. Looks like Misfortune running around as well, but she will be spotted out. And the SK side will just back up here. No, apparently not. They said, we can take this tower, you're not going to be in position soon enough. But now they're going to back up. I think it's kind of critical that they back up and take a fight away from the tower. The tower's just going to do a little too much damage if they try and fight under it, especially if they get someone who isn't Shen tanking it, as he's the only real tanky one at this point. Shaco is decently tanky, but not tanky enough to really stand a bunch of tower hits. It's like Misfortune's waiting out to the side to try and pop a good ultimate on several people. But there comes the man drop, as we do see Xin Zhao jump in, and it will hit Kayle, but Kayle will ultimate perfectly in time. There comes the Shen ultimate as well, and Kayle's taken low. We do see Xin Zhao taken out as the first victim of this fight. Olaf doing a great job of zoning, but Misfortune is not in a good position, and she's forced to flash away. Shen doing an amazing job of zoning out the team up top, as Olaf is taken very low, and that's only one kill traded this entire fight, and that is Xin Zhao. The problem is SK is in a position to push here, and Absolute Legends has no real health left on any of their champions, and this will be another tower down, extending the SK lead. We do see Misfortune going for the Phantom Dancer, but that fight just did not go in Absolute Legends' way. Pantheon's man drops have just not been very useful this entire game. He's done a decent job of landing them, but every single time he lands them, the person that gets hit by the majority of the damage is hit with a Kayle ultimate before they occur. And this Kayle has done an amazing job with those ultimates. In addition to that, Shen ultimates come right on top of the person who takes all that burst, and they don't go down, as we saw in that last fight. Aegis of the Legion has been picked up by Olaf. He's not going for the traditional Warmongs, as we've seen basically every single Olaf or tanky champion, or even mage go this tournament. Looks like we are going to have more armor coming out of Shaco, likely going to build that into a Randuin's Omen or a Frozen Heart. I think both of them will be fairly viable. Ezreal runs out right through the middle, as we do see Lulu taking a fair bit of damage, but they don't want to really push on it. Dragon should be up fairly soon, as we do see the blue buff about to be taken by the SK side of things, as I don't think there's anyone in the area to really stop them from the Absolute Legends side. You do see a Zani's Hourglass picked up onto Kayle, as we're likely to see an Iceborne Gauntlet picked up onto Ezreal. And at this point, SK is in a really good position, as their team comp is just a bit stronger, especially the fact they can mitigate so much burst damage with that Kayle. It mitigates most of the Misfortune ult, it mitigates the big man drops, and it mitigates Xin Zhao jumping in and knocking off 10-20% of your HP with his ultimate. We are going to see Shen picking up even more armor and tankiness, as he picked up a Warden's Mail, likely to build that to a Randuin's Omen. And we do have Shen up top picking up a tower, as they do trade it for their mid lane tower. A bit of an advantage for SK, is that means they can ward a little deeper, but I don't think there's any real chance for Absolute Legends here, unless they can really force a good team fight. If they can hit someone in 3 or 4 man Pantheon on ultimates, they can win a team fight, but I don't see them having the lockdown to do so, as Olaf partially gets caught out of here, but he does pop his ultimate and runs away. I think that's the one thing Absolute Legend is missing from their lineup at this moment. is a real consistent lockdown that isn't Pantheon. They just don't have that CC that sets up the Pantheon ultimate. If they had a Mumu instead of Xin Zhao, I think that would have worked a lot better, as the Mumu ultimate sets up Pantheon ultimates perfectly. As you see Shen try and jump in there and taunt, and SK Gaming will just take a tower for free, as Pantheon is not in the area and his ultimate is just now coming off cooldown. Looks like we are going to have the Shaco clone just being a nuisance up top, as he's just running around dealing damage with that Sunfire Cape. We are going to have both sides vying for position here, as it is going to be a 5v5 fight. I don't see any way unless SK decides to just run away. But that's looks like 3 Cerulya's Reveries picked up by Absolute Legends at this point, and they can engage or disengage whenever they want. The problem is I don't think, even under a tower, they can kill Shen. Look at how tanky he is. He's just sitting there taking everything, and his health hasn't dropped below 90%. And he just heals up anything that happens. And he also gets a fair amount of attack speed from Ezreal. As it looks like here comes the man drop, and it will land decently well, but not a whole lot, as the Sona ultimate basically counteracts that initiation. Shen is taken fairly low, but if he's the only person that's taken low, I don't think you're too worried on the SK side of things. Absolute Legends had a good chance there, but that Sona ultimate really stopped them from initiating, and that goes the first inhibitor tower of the game. As we look to see SK back up, and we'll see if Pantheon can get in here for a man drop, but no, there's just too many boxes up there. And he is not going to be able to jump into this fight. Absolute Legends just not in position to fight. They've had several opportunities, as Xin Zhao might try and catch Kayle out here, but Kayle just does way too much damage. As we do see Shaco coming up and doing a fair bit of damage to Lulu, as we do see a teleport coming in from Olaf, but Olaf is not going to be in range. And that does mean Olaf can't split push anymore, as he really needs that teleport to get back into these fights. Shaco using his clone to just run around and be a nuisance, as it will fly away at the last second when he does finish recalling. Shen already down bottom split pushing, as he's picked up another Giant's Belt. Likely can pick up every single Giant's Belt item in the entire game, and I don't blame him for it, as it is incredibly cost effective, as all those Giant Belt items give him a ridiculous amount of health, and they give him a little bit of damage on the side. Looks like we are going to have a Leodry's Torment and a Warmongs being built onto Kayle, as she has the components for both, as Xin Zhao does jump onto Shen, but Shen not actually taking any damage from that, as Xin Zhao just doesn't have any damage himself. He's likely going to be building into a Warmongs, possibly an Aegis of the Legion as well, but this Shen is just way too tanky, and there's no way the Absolute Legend side is going to be able to kill him in a team fight, unless he's the only one there. Dragon will be taken by SK as they extend their goal lead to about 9,000 at this point. Misfortune has finished off a Phantom Dancer, as we do see Iceborne Gauntlet completed up onto Ezreal. Locket of the Iron Solari completed onto Sona, in addition to the standard support items, as you see Lulu with the Cerulya's Reverie, in addition to the Ruby Sightstone. Pantheon has completed his last Whisper, in addition to the Mercury Treads with Home Guard, as they're looking to catch Kayle out here, but Xin Zhao will not be able to get in on her before she pops her ultimate. And it looks like she's going to be taking a whole lot of damage, but here comes the Shen ultimate, and that means things might turn around as the Sona ultimate just barely whiffs. Kayle pops his Zhonya's Hourglass, and she is just fine. It looks like Xin Zhao is looking to be caught out here. Pantheon with the ultimate will land on 3, but it is not enough damage, as it landed on Shen, and Shen does not care about damage at this point, as he is just going to run through the entire team. He could probably even run into the fountain without dying at this point, as he is so incredibly tanky. And it looks like Absolute Legends just don't have an answer for him at this point. Between Kayle ultimate and the Shen ultimate, they just can't kill anyone, and they're really looking for someone down. Lulu gets taken out just from the poke of Ezreal, and this is looking bad for Absolute Legends. They picked a comp that had to really win early in Snowball with that Pantheon and Xin Zhao, and they just weren't able to do so. They had some opportunities, but they really got countered by that Shen, and that's one of the problems with leaving him in the pool. As I said at the beginning, Shen counters playing aggressively, especially once he hits level 6, and he's done that perfectly this entire game. In addition to that, the Kayle ultimates have been really spot on, really punishing the Pantheon ultimates at every turn, as he's jumped in there and just not able to do his burst damage, which is why you kind of pick Pantheon. Looks like we are going to see the SK side just back up and spend their gold. They each have a ton of gold to spend after picking off 2 or 3 towers. Olaf trying to get in there, but I don't think he wants any piece of Shaco or Shen, as they are both ridiculously tanky. Shaco will just leave a few traps up there in hopes of catching someone out or just being annoying. But the Shaco picks actually worked out a lot better than I thought, considering he did not have a very good start. He's able to just kind of get to the back line and just be a distraction and soak up a bunch of damage. As Shen also soaks up a bunch of damage with his taunt. And it means the back line of Misfortune and Lulu can't get in there and do any real damage. So it looks like SK is going to revive for Baron here, as they do have an Oracle's picked up onto Sona. 1 ward will be cleared. And unless Absolute Legends sends someone bottom to take care of Shen, he will push the tower down, or SK will get a free Baron. Looks like we do have Liadri's Torrent picked up onto Kayle, as Warren's Mail has been finished up onto Shaco. Looks like we are going to have Shen picking up another Giant Spelt item in the Frozen Mallet. Shen really doesn't need the damage, even though he does get a decent amount of damage from his passive when he picks up more health. Looks like Olaf is going to come down bottom. His teleport still has a few seconds on it as Shaco's doing the Baron, and they are going to duke it out. Looks like we are going to see a fight here, as I don't think Absolute Legends can give up a free Baron. Shaco is going to be jumped on as Pantheon throws out the ultimate, but it is not in time as Baron is taken by SK side of things, and there's the big ultimate by Ezreal. Misfortune throws her own ultimate out, but it is just not enough as the SK side of things just clean up. And despite making a few early game mistakes, they have really done well to counteract the team comp of Absolute Legends. Pantheon and Xin Zhao really wanted to dominate that mid game, but just never had the opportunity. And I think if Absolute Legends picked someone besides Pantheon in that last slot, they would have had a much better chance this game. I don't remember exactly who was on the board, but I believe someone like a Twisted Fate might have been a better global presence option, as he does do more than just dominate the mid game. And that just comes to show that if you work together as a team and have some really powerful ultimates, you can snowball a victory. Thank you for watching Games Cast by PanderNyrl. For more commented games, please visit my YouTube and stream channels.